Folks, if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you know that a stock that I played with a lot 20 years ago was Cisco Systems. It was responsible for me turning 7 grand into roughly 200, only to help lead to the demise and the collapse. So is Nvidia the next Cisco?
To
Cisco
be
basic.
to be fair, it also led you to real estate.
Oh, of course it did. And I'm happy for it. I wouldn't trade anything at all. Yes. But is NVIDIA the next Cisco? I think it is really interesting to talk about. When I look at it from a complete outsider, Cisco kind of was the backbone of the internet. The internet was game changing technology. They had the run of the show until competition caught up. NVIDIA clearly is the lead horse in the AI race. And again, competition will eventually catch up, but when? And more importantly, Cisco went on to sell more and more stuff for a long, long time, but they were dead money. And frankly, if you bought at the peak, are still dead money.
Yeah, you still have not. It still has not returned to its peak.
Oh, I know. It's wild to think about. So again, let's talk about it. Are we on the cusp of the same thing? Mr.
So
Bird, the floor is yours.
before I show you some charts to make that comparison, let's talk a little bit about first. Let's talk about Cisco in 2000.
Sure.
You know, when Cisco was just going up day after day, week after week.
I was a
You
consultant at
couldn't
Cisco.
lose. You couldn't
I
lose.
couldn't
Didn't
lose.
matter when you bought it. You could
Didn't
buy it
matter.
when you thought it was the peak, and it still went up and made another peak.
It did.
And the reason for that is they were the technology. They were basically the de facto technology for the internet.
Correct.
And lots of companies were jumping into the internet,
Well,
creating companies.
let's put it in more specifics. Because again, I want people, they were picks and shovels.
Yeah.
They were picks and shovels. Lots
Mhm.
of people were in the internet kind of customer facing. Cisco was picks and shovels. That's what they were.
Yes, that's right. A lot of people saw the promise of the internet at that time. It was still very early on. In fact, browsers had just been created.
Right.
I mean, there was no way to even search for things on the internet. Google
Yep.
wasn't even out yet,
Nope.
so there was no search engine per se. There was some, very rough ones, but there wasn't really much of a browser even to be able to view things that were on the internet. There were
Yep.
just people were creating sites, but there wasn't hardly any way to get to them. But then they started creating browsers that let you get to the data, and then they started creating search engines that let you search for things, and then that really helped the internet really start to take off. But all of that, like you said, had to be built on a core technology, a foundation, in order for it all to work. So all of that whole network where all of that information was flowing was built on Cisco,
Mm-hmm.
Cisco's networks. And Cisco was ahead of their competitors at the time. And basically, anyone that wanted to have a presence on the internet would have to buy Cisco equipment.
Yep.
They really had no choice. So now, some of those companies weren't real companies,
Yeah,
right?
no, you're right. I mean, the internet, there was a lot of private equity I
Right.
mean, you and I were selling software
Yeah,
back then.
that's right.
I still remember going to a company, I think it was called Red Brick.
Mm-hmm.
It was in San Francisco. Their their conference table was a ping pong table.
Right.
They had boxes and boxes of unopened Cisco and Sun Micro gear.
Yeah.
They were a flash in the pan. Those idiots spent, I don't know, like 20 million bucks in 4 months and did nothing. But
Yeah.
that Cisco rep got paid.
That's right. Cisco rep got paid, and Cisco got paid because it was all private equity money,
It was.
right? People
Right.
were betting
Does
on
that ring a bell? Does that ring a
people
bell
were
to
betting
anyone?
on the internet. They were betting on the internet, but they didn't have a good way of deciding which companies were real and which ones weren't.
Yeah.
But everybody had to buy Cisco, so Cisco stock just kept going up, and
It was the
you couldn't
first
lose.
order. Every new company bought Cisco. They knew they
Yeah,
needed it, so they bought it
that's right.
first.
Even old companies that suddenly realized that they need to have a internet presence too.
Yep.
They had to buy Cisco, so everyone did.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's compare that to Nvidia today. And a lot of people say, well, Nvidia is doing so well because of AI. Well, Nvidia started as a graphics card,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And to the CEO's credit, he was visionary. He saw that it wasn't just going to stay a graphics company, But graphics is what allows the chips to be able to process so much data.
Yeah, they model it differently. Yep.
Right. So the next step from graphics cards was crypto.
Yep.
The
Because it can handle big function. Yep.
crypto requires huge compute power
Yep.
in order to create, and we've talked about how Bitcoin is created on this channel before, but you get paid Bitcoin by creating a block in the blockchain, and to create the block in the blockchain, you have to identify the algorithm, and every time a block gets created, the algorithm gets more and more complicated, and the more complicated the algorithms get, the more compute power you need.
Yep.
So Nvidia was riding that wave. All right. Now everyone's talking about AI, but what does that really mean? I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and they were like, "Well, Apple now is going to have AI on their phones." I said, "Well, what does that mean? Does that mean Apple is processing data on the phone?" No. AI, basically, at its core today, at least, is processing big data. You and I were selling big data, right? So we understand what that means. It doesn't mean you have all of that data on your phone. No, all of that data is sitting somewhere else in the cloud, in a data center somewhere.
Yeah,
So
maybe several data centers.
Yeah, most likely multiple data centers. So when Apple or anyone else, Microsoft, Oracle, any of the big ones, Google, any of the big ones talk about they're going to offer AI, what that really means is they will have massive data centers processing all of that data. And whatever the results of that data processing it gets pushed out to the user, pushed out to your phone, your laptop, whatever. So you're not running AI on your phone, you're running the results of a big data processing. So that's why Nvidia now is very similar to Cisco, because if anybody wants to do AI, it means they're capturing data from all of their customers.
Yep.
All the data has to be crunched in the data center, and it requires Nvidia chips in order to do that.
Picks and shovels, baby. Picks and shovels.
Picks and shovels. It's exactly like Cisco. So the question then is, will there be a competitor or multiple competitors that will come along? Because at some point, and we might be getting close to that point, the cost of processing that data using NVIDIA chips becomes prohibitive.
Yeah. I don't think there's a question of if. I think the real question is when.
Right. Yes. So at some point, yes, absolutely. At some point, there will be competition.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, Cisco ran essentially a monopoly with picks and shovels until Juniper, and then 3Com, and then all these other things came around, and I'm probably missing some.
Yeah, Qualcomm.
Nvidia will have one. And here's the big thing that most people don't realize is a lot of people look at this and think Intel and AMD. Now, undoubtedly, both of those are coming.
Yeah.
But I would argue that there's probably some no-name brand that you've never heard of that's going to create the next thing that competes with NVIDIA. And then the question becomes, does NVIDIA squash them via acquisition, i.e. something Cisco has done, or does AMD or Intel? Here's the deal, right? You want to call a play early, just like Cisco. There are some startups today, sub 50 employees, that are working on the next NVIDIA killer. They are going to be scooped up and have bidding wars.
Yes.
It'll be AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA. It's going to happen.
And it could be others too.
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
But Intel could be a surprise. We'll look at the chart on Intel in a second.
All right.
And I'll give folks an idea on Intel, because Intel could actually surprise you. HP
it surprised a lot of people to the downside.
yeah. I mean, HP could surprise you.
Yeah, HPE.
You don't know where it's going to come from. I mean, who knew a little company called Super Micro would sell for $1,200 a share, right? SMCI.
Yep.
And that's picks and shovels.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Just happens to run NVIDIA chips, right?
Cool.
So with that background, let's take a look at a chart.
I like it. That's what we
And
do here. Charts.
that's what I do
Yes, you do here. I just, yeah, fair enough.
here. I'm the chart man.
You are the chart.
Okay, so I found an article about this topic, about Nvidia. So first, let's take a look at this one. This comes right from the article. And while I don't completely agree with some of his thesis about how far Nvidia will fall or how quickly or when that will happen,
Mhm.
in general, I think it's probably reasonable.
Okay.
So this is Nvidia's stock splits in the past.
Okay. Split adjusted.
Yeah. Well, this just shows you when the splits happened and what happened to the
Oh,
stock.
got it. Got it.
That's
Got
the
it.
way to
Got
look
it.
at this.
Okay.
So split happened here. That's what happened to the stock. Split, dropped, split, went up, then dropped. Split here, went up, then dropped. Split here. Right now, we're in the process of going up.
Okay.
All right. Just from a timing perspective. Now let's compare Cisco and Nvidia. And this one will surprise, maybe not
Yeah.
surprise you, shock you.
Yeah. I think I saw this article. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. The dark line is Nvidia and the light purple line is Cisco.
30% in a month. Oh, I remember how that felt.
Yep. So amazing how closely they're tracking, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, doesn't mean that this will happen to Nvidia. There are some differences. You know, during the internet, there were companies that had no business trying to become companies.
Yeah, we had company like Red Brick. They bought stuff and never unboxed it. That did happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Or pets.com.
Yep.
That bought
Webvan.
Webvan, bought Super Bowl ads and never
Never did anything.
really had a business.
Crazy.
Nvidia does have business right now,
Mhm.
but there are a lot of people talking about AI without really defining what that means for them.
Yeah, I agree.
So in that sense, it's kind of similar. And I think there will be companies that are touting their AI offerings that really won't come true.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, I think it will be the competition and the market itself and Nvidia at some point hitting a wall.
Mm.
I don't think that's yet.
Okay.
I don't think Nvidia is ready to hit that wall. And keep in mind that Nvidia normally runs up into earnings,
Mm-hmm.
and earnings are in August.
Oh, okay.
So this doesn't mean it's going to happen next week.
Right.
Or next quarter.
Right.
But the whole market may have some issues, which we talked about
Yeah.
last time.
Yeah, there may be things above NVIDIA's control. Yeah.
My whole market might have problems. So these are the trend models that I created. I've had really good feedback from folks on this.
I like it.
This is for subscribers only. I'll actually go through the whole thing and very quickly you can actually see how it works. We'll get to the Magnificent Seven where Nvidia is, but these are the indexes. So it gives you a short-term trend, a medium-term trend, and a long-term trend, and it shows you when those trends changed.
Mm-hmm.
So the S&P changed from down to up on May 6th, and it had a long-term trend started all the way back in January of 23. All right, so you can see, you know, the actual dates when the changes happened, and the ones that are highlighted are the ones that just happened this week.
Got it.
So the Russell had a switch to down on June 28th. Gold went down on the 25th. Bonds, interestingly went up, but they got killed on Friday. I don't know what happened to bonds, but I'll show you that. I'll show you each one of these. And the S&P, this is basically when you click on the button right here, it takes you to the chart.
Got it.
And if you'll notice the color coding, pink, blue, and red on the top. So pink is the short term, blue is the medium term. Red does not appear on this chart because it's so long ago. but this is the S&P. So it shows you exactly where those dates are. So if you wanted to just use this for entries and exits, if you wanted to use it for options, if you wanted to use it for futures, which one of my subscribers said they want to do, you could buy, get into S&P futures right here, buy one contract right there and then wait for the medium term to go up and buy a second contract and then just ride it all the way up. All right, we'll just quickly go through each one. So there's the NASDAQ. So they all right now are pretty bullish. There's the Dow. That's the worst one of the three. Here's the Russell, just gave a medium-term down signal. And you can see the pink, blue, and red lines. That's where the signals happen when they cross.
Yep.
Right there. So here's the Magnificent Seven. And look what happened Friday.
Ugh, that's a nasty candle.
Big drop on Friday. Here's Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has a short-term and a medium-term down signal. Still heading down. There's gold. Gold's heading down. Here's bonds.
Woo!
I haven't done the research on this. I don't know if there was an auction Friday, but I said this before in the past. I said the politicians will not cut spending.
Right.
They will be forced to cut spending by the market.
Yep.
The bond market in particular. So watch the bond market.
Yeah, the bond vigilantes will eventually make them. Yeah.
Right. Now here's 10-year treasuries heading lower. There's the VIX heading lower. Here's technology. And again, notice the candle on Friday.
Yep.
Tried to make a new high, but couldn't. Failed. There's communication services, discretionary.
Yeah, I guess Monday's going to be interesting, right? Do we just have window dressing for the end of Q2, or is there something?
So Monday, will they all pile back in on Monday?
Right.
Right. Or will this continue on Monday? So let's jump over to, these are the sectors here: industrials, financials. You can pretty quickly see what the trends look like, right? So here's the Magnificent Seven. Here's Google. Look at Friday. And it's still very positive. I mean, the medium-term trend changed way back here in March,
right?
And it hasn't reversed yet, or the short term. Neither one have reversed. But look at Friday's candle. Here's Amazon, big drop Friday. Here's Apple, big drop Friday. Here's Meta, same thing. Microsoft, same thing.
Wow. Yeah,
Microsoft, big time. But none of the short term hasn't crossed the medium term yet. Okay. So we'll see if this continues. But here's Nvidia. So while you were out, I did a session on Max Payne. And I said that, and I did that session. This was Tuesdays, this white one. And then we had a day off when Wednesday the market was closed. I did that session, Max Payne. And I said, because of Max Payne, Nvidia and others may sell off into Friday, options expiration. And I had a few subscribers send me a note saying, thank you so much for that video. I bought puts at the open. I made $25,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Buy puts up here and sell them the very next morning when the market opens and make a lot of money. There's Nvidia. Nvidia is sitting right on the reversion to the mean on the 21-day right now and trending lower. So we'll see if that continues. But if it does, Nvidia might be, getting ready. It might actually come down before it starts to run up into earnings. Now, earnings is on August 21st.
Yeah, it's still seven weeks away.
Yeah, it has a habit of running up about 3 weeks before earnings. Right. But it could come down significantly before then. We'll see. Tesla, here's Tesla. Tesla's one of the few that actually went higher.
Good for them.
But still below its 200-day moving average. So still not really that positive. Netflix, same thing on Friday. AMD actually went up a little bit Friday. AMD that's probably the worst looking chart, but it's actually trying to recover right there. There's Super Micro.
Straight down.
Huge down day. Oracle, last one. And then before we end, I want to show Intel.
Okay.
Here's Intel. And let's actually show this on
that's a big sideways motion right there.
2-year chart. There's 2 years right there.
Sheesh.
So based on everything we've just talked about, that there will be some competitors to Nvidia at some point. Look where Intel's just been ever since May. Big decline pretty much all year. Since May, it just has gone sideways. It just refuses to go below 30. Refuses. So if you wanted to speculate that at some point, and it could be a year away, some point Intel or someone else comes out with a chip that competes with Nvidia, you might want to get in early, do a little bit. Right now it's selling for basically 31. Put a stop at 29, right below this $30 level, because it just seems like traders just refuse to sell it below 30. And just wait and see what happens.
So control your downside, have a dollar at risk.
Control the downside, very limited downside. And you don't have to, do much with this, but if it starts to go up, then just move your stop up. Eventually move it up to your break-even point. And then if Intel comes out with a big announcement, or they get acquired,
again, it's going to be acquisitions.
Not a recommendation, just an idea.
No,
using the charts.
Chart ideas. These are just chart ideas. How to look at charts and create ideas, not advice.
That's right.
Okay. Very cool, man.
Could just as easily, fall through that and go back to 25. But even 25 is significant support all the way back here to 2022.
Yeah, true.
That's $5 difference where potentially $20 upside.
There you go. Well, Dan, you're amazing. One more time with the website, please.
Sure. breakpointtrading.net, and the newsletter's right there. And I put all the trend models right on the top of the page. So you can get it from any page you go to. The trend models are right there.
Yeah, I love that subscriber only content, man. You're amazing. Thank you, Mr. Bird.
All right, have a great week, and
you too.
Have
Happy 4th.
a great Independence Day.
Yes, sir.